Let's call this meeting to order. Roll call.
Mayor Juanita Gurley-Hiron.
Present.
Councilor David G. Romero.
Present.
Councilor Barbara Casey.
Here.
Councilor Vincent Howell.
Present.
Councilor David A. Nibali Jr.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Do you have a quorum?
Thank you very much. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilor Nibali, the moment is up.
A moment of silence for all the kids that are in sports, especially in the town that they go out of town almost every Friday. The coaches, the parents, keep them safe and say a prayer to our Lord.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Casey.
I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. Roll call.
Councilor Romero.
Yes.
Councilor Howell.
Yes.
Councilor Casey.
Yes.
Councilor Nibali Jr.
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is public input forum, and we have Mr. Marshall Poole on animal welfare report.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Poole.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council.
Good evening.
I'm going to skip over some of these figures because we have some other important things to report, but we did take in 157 animals. That's 55.2 per day, and that's 7 days a week. Average population is 62 dogs and 76 cats. That's average daily population, and that's in 32 kennels over there, plus the cattery. 91 of those dogs came in unidentified. 100 of those dogs had no evidence of rabies vaccination. And this is like typical. So it's between 89 to 91% of all dogs that come in are not identified or have no evidence of rabies vaccination or are not spayed or neutered. Sometimes it's not all three. So sometimes a dog comes in that's spayed or neutered. They are identified or we know who the owner is, but they're not spayed or neutered and they don't have a rabies vaccination. But of all the figures to remember, 90% of all the dogs or cats that come in are not identified or don't have rabies vaccination certificate or are not spayed or neutered. And I'll be mentioning more about that later. We returned 43 animals to their owner guardians. We adopted 26 animals out locally. We trapped 53 cats and sent them for spaying and neutering, and then they tip their ears and bring them back, and they're either released into the community if the citizen wants them released back into the community, or we put them out as barn cats to ranchers and farmers. We transported 88 dogs and cats to 5 different agencies in Colorado and other places for adoption. And also, the reason we can do that is because 90% of our animals are not spayed or neutered. So we have too many dogs for the population that we have. And we're just lucky that those places maintain their spaying and neutering laws, enforce their spaying and neutering laws, so that we have some place to send all the animals that we have that are extra. There were 6 bite holds this last month. That's unusually high, but I just want to reiterate, if an animal bites someone and does not have a certified rabies certificate, animal control will bring them in to us, and we put a 10-day hold on them to observe them for rabies evidence. This is really critical because if an animal does have rabies and is communicable, it won't show up in the human until much later, and the symptom is not frothing at the mouth. So nobody can tell, but without watching that dog and finding out whether or not that dog might be a candidate for rabies. So we also transported 17 citizen-owned dogs at a low cost or no cost, like $25 or no cost, for spaying and neuter. We also transported 10 strays and other owner-surrendered animals for spay and neuter. The New Mexico Board of Veterinary Medicine has now certified us to operate a municipal shelter. This is a change in state law, so they have been given the task now of running the sheltering board, and they are in the process of certifying shelters around the state. So our shelter and our shelter director have been certified to operate a municipal shelter. We suspect that what's going to happen is that until now, there's been a sheltering board that's had suggested guidelines for running a shelter in terms of infection control and all the rest. We suspect that what now is going to happen is that they are going to put in required standards for animal shelters around the state. They will be starting inspection this next year, so we intend to be, inspected. We have 2 new ACOs from the city, Alex Ellington and Jeremiah Gutierrez. They brought in 16 animals their first week, so they're off and running. We're going to be providing their tuition for ACO certification training in October, and both of them, I think, are excited about taking on their role. Again, the biggest issues are no ID, no rabies certification, and no spay and neuter for 90 to 91% of the animals that come into our shelter. This is why we've been continuing our $25 or no cost spaying and neuter for any citizen who walks in. We completely pay for the transportation to Santa Fe, the spaying and neutering. They get a chip, they get the rabies vaccine, all for $25, and if they can't pay that, we waive that. We also are doing 2 community fairs next year, complete with a veterinarian. They'll get a rabies vaccine, they'll get any other shots that they need, either cats or dogs, and then lots of other stuff, harnesses and so on, and that's for $5 a pet. So we're trying to make what people need very low cost or no cost. Any questions?
Questions, Paul?
Just comment. Congratulations on certification.
Yeah.
I think you and the AWC is really doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And it's came long ways from where we were at the beginning.
Well, and I think we'll be ready for this, whatever this new inspection is by the New Mexico Board of Veterinary Medicine. I think we will be ready to pass whatever inspection they.
Mr. Full?
And
Yes.
just one more comment. Remember, Mahatma Gandhi said you can tell the the perception of a community and how we treat our animals. So I know that AWC is treating our animals with passion and care. So thank you.
We are. Thank you for noticing that.
Mr. Poole, I want to commend you on the incredible work and the leadership and professionalism that you have brought to AWC. You have done an outstanding job, and we can't thank you enough for everything that you've done. Of course, your staff as well, but you at the helm make such an incredible difference to how that organization is run.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Also, I want to say that I spoke to Jane from Semilla, and they're working on getting some money together to put a standardized fence.
Yes.
I did tell her to contact her city manager to see what we could do to
Yes.
assist as well.
Yes, we're working with Jane on that.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Father.
It's a good partnership, Madam Mayor, members of the council.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next person on the public input is Wid Slick, funding opportunity.
Good evening, Mr. Slick.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, staff. The city, a couple of years ago, had the foresight to plan out the redevelopment and the public infrastructure needed in the railroad district. And the result of that was this set of construction-ready plans and this conceptual drawing, which do I have upside down? No, that's right. Grand Avenue the depot. And the new capital outlay opportunity has just come out through the Economic Development and Main Street departments. And because of this prior planning and having construction-ready plans, Las Vegas is not only eligible, we are on the short list when we start out. The problem with it is short timeline, so I'm hoping we can find some ways to fast-track this. But we talked to the consultants that put this together, and the whole project is like 1.6 million, and the capital outlay doesn't even touch that. But what we found out from them is pretty exciting. And that is that right here at the entrance, we could put an arch across the whole road with a defining art piece. We can put electricity in all the way to the station and install light poles. And then if we put banners on the light poles, we have, with a very inexpensive phase one, the most dramatic entrance into the railroad district that is possible. It'd be great. So that's it. I'm hoping that staff can work with us. This would be a city proposal. The funding is in 2 stages. Stage 1, the one that's due September 28th, the city would only need to certify that it is willing to accept the money and manage it. It's no requirement for match, nothing else except that one thing. If we make it past the first cut, which I know we will, then there would need to be a full formal resolution from council and going forward. So that's the opportunity.
Great, thank you, Mr. Cook, and I know Anne Marie's been working
Yes.
on that. We've been on that for what, 2 years now?
It's been a while.
Thank you very much.
It's a shovel-ready project, so
That's it.
who knows?
Okay.
The next item is, that ends the public input forum. The next item, we go to the discussion items. Madam Mayor, members of the council. The first one is the awarding of the bid number 2019-01 to Electric Horseman Incorporated for the Las Vegas Municipal Airport Precision Approach Path Indicator installation. We have Mr. Danny Goodwin. Thank you,
Good
Danny.
evening.
Council members, I'm here to seek the approval of the installation of the PAPIs for the airport to Electric Horsemen. They were the lowest bidders by quite a few, by almost 40,000. Do we have any questions?
Questions, comments?
It's getting done.
These bids are really put out by the FAA state office, so, but they bring it back to mayor and council for approval.
Questions, comments? What's the pleasure of the board? Consent? Okay.
Thank you, Councilor Casey. Thank you, members of the council.
I know.
The next item is Ocam Engineers Incorporated Task Order for Las Vegas Leak Detector Phase 2. We have Ms. Maria Gilberry.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilors, Madam Manager. Requesting approval to approve a task order for Ocam Engineers, which is actually operating under the name of Stantec now, to perform leak detection services that'll do sound. The company will do sounding on approximately 124 miles of our distribution lines. The city's lines, the majority of them are inside the city limits, but there are some of our lines that transport our water that is in the ETZ. The city is responsible for all of them. We want to make sure that we're catching leaks before they get to the point where they're tremendous leaks and they're greatly impacting the community. We have done this before. Phase 1 was done back in, I believe, 2012. From that, we were able to determine a lot of areas in town that were leaking that weren't visible. We were able to repair many of them. We're still in the process. As a matter of fact, the next project that we'll be discussing was one of those. The company does use, like I said, sounding equipment, so they go all around town. They listen at the valves and at hydrants for flowing water. A lot of the work they try to do is at late at night when most people are asleep so that they can pinpoint these leaks. They are able to estimate what the size of the leak is. From that information, the engineer will be able to put together a technical report, which comes up with a plan of action for the city to be able to address each of the leaks based on the impact to the city. Again, this is the same engineering firm we've used before. They produced a wonderful document that helped us with our planning for repairs of many of our distribution lines. So I'm requesting approval of the task order. It is an $83,901 project, and from that we'll be able to move forward with fixing the undetectable leaks that we have in town before they become detectable.
What is the pleasure of the board? Questions, comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Gilberry, is this the same item that was on the ICIP plan for annual leak detection?
We have it on the ICIP plan in perpetuity. It is something we will be doing every several years, and that is that covers the entire leak detection process. This is part of it. So yes, it is what's on the board, but this is a small part of what's on the board. That will include what was requested or what will go before on the ICIP. Includes the repairs, replacement, and future assessments.
And how much was the dollars on that one?
Off the top of my head, I thought it was probably $1 million for covering the entire time frame.
Approved away. I'm sorry.
I believe it was almost $1 million covering the entire time frame, but that includes the assessment, the documents, as well as repairs.
It's $1,070,000.
And this one is about 84,000.
This is 84,000, and this is for the assessment. So this is a portion of that whole $1 million ICIP.
So this is getting it shovel ready?
This will be getting it
Feasible.
yeah,
okay.
feasible towards the shovel ready, but it is repetitive. Every few years, we're going to need to keep doing this so we can find the leaks. We just had a leak on East Drive, and we had a leak over by the railroad on Pecos. And those leaks, they're leaking probably for days, maybe even weeks before we recognize them. So there's a tremendous loss of water, and this will help us to find these leaks before we lose a tremendous amount of water.
Okay. Thank you.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Consent.
Continue, next.
Actually, if I might add something to that last one, just a quick thing. We're in the middle of a cabin site project, and I'm going to ask for help from everybody. If you do spot any water on the ground or any leaks, please call us right away. Since we're doing cabin site, our main tank is offline. We would like to catch as many leaks as possible before they get big. So I'm asking for help from the entire community. If you see something, call PD, call utilities.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item is the awarding for bid number 2018-24 for the 8th Street and Hospital Chico Drive Waterline Project to Hayes Plumbing and Heating. Ms. Gilberry.
Madam Manager, Mayor, Councilors, as I said before, this project was actually developed in the last leak detection process. Along 8th Street, it's a deteriorating line. We have numerous patches on it. It is under the sidewalk there. The plan will be to install a brand new line. Actually, it'll be on the edge of the roadway, so it'll be easier if we ever do have to perform any repairs in the future. In the past, we've had to tear up sidewalks, tear up property. It was a tremendous amount of repair. So this new line will be adjacent to it, and it won't be the ductile iron that is deteriorating in the area. We'll use either PVC or HDPE. It is from Sperry to Terrace. So those are the two.
Questions, comments?
Is that Chico?
Oh, and sorry, and I was going to get to the second part of it. That's one part of it, is the 8th Street. The other part of it is we have over by Chico, Crossover Lane, Harris, for years, that soil over there is just dissolves our ductile iron lines. So that area as well over the last several years has been replaced by city staff in sections. There's a very large section that goes from Crossover Lane, which is right at the end of Chico Drive, across through the hospital property down towards Legion. It is an existing line. It is deteriorating. It is leaking. It needs to be replaced with a modern either HDPE. I think this one's going to be HDPE. It is, a portion of it right there at Crossover Lane and Chico is outside city limits, but inside the ETZ. Again, it is a city water line and we are responsible for it. The majority of the project goes through Hospital Field, which is all inside city limits.
Okay. Counselor Casey, you have the floor.
Thank you. Is it budgeted already? Do we have that
They are
money?
budgeted, and this project has $600,000 in funding that's already been approved, accepted, and waiting for us to start the work. We've already closed on that. There will be a portion of this that will be paid by city funds, and that's already budgeted for. We budgeted $750,000 for this project. And I believe the two contractors were $658,000 and $615,000.
678,000.
678,000 and 615,000. So Hayes was the lower bidder of the two. And it does fall within the funding plus the budgeted city funds.
Thank you.
Counselor Howell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Gilberry, when the big rains come, or it has been coming, there has been a lot of flooding in that area. I know that because I drove it when one of my community members called me up and told me to take a look at it. Are we going to do anything with the drainage?
Which areas, Counselor?
Near Chico Drive, Harris, and Terrace, and all the ones that you mentioned.
Okay, I was interested in that area just so that I could find out if it was the 8th Street or the Chico. That's not part of this project. The drainage plan is not part of this project, but letting us know that, I can talk to Public Works and we can see about what can be done in that area. This is just, this is an installation of a water line, not storm drain, not drainage. But we can take a look at it and see what can develop from that information, so thank
I
you.
was thinking if you're working on the water line, the drain
Do a bar ditch, so we can, if it rains while we're out there, we can take a look at it and see if there's something we can do to put it all on the hospital property for watering of their yard.
We'll call the eastern states to give us some rain over here.
Maybe we can make a catchment area.
Yeah.
Any way we can get and reuse that water, we'd love to.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? What is the pleasure of the board? Consent?
Consent.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gilberry. Thank you, Mayor, members of
Thank
the
you very
council.
much. Ms. Gilberry.
The next item is out-of-state travel to Washington DC, and we have Chief Lopez.
Good evening, Chief. How are you?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, here today to ask for authorization for out-of-state travel for our grants manager, Beatrice, to Washington, D.C. For advanced financial management training. So in our utilization of our federally obtained funding, it is a requirement for her to go to training, I believe it's biannually. She did go to the beginning trainings in 2015, I believe. 2016, we were wanting to send her, but we didn't have, we were low on our funding at that time, so we held off. So now that we do have funding in place, we're asking to send her to Washington for this advanced financial management training, which I believe will help the department and also help the city in obtaining other grants and also managing the ones that we do get on an annual basis.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments? Counselor Howell.
Just a comment. This would be a great opportunity to maybe give her some, what do you call it, talking points, and if she has time to go talk to some of our legislators over there.
Trump.
You can't talk to him. Congressman, staff, and I think you might, if you're and have a specific need for the police department and for our community, I think that would be a good idea.
Yes, definitely.
And definitely, I mean, if we could send another person from the administration with her to really strike up meetings with the congressman, and this is our opportunity to talk to them.
We've also talked a little bit about looking at other types of grants that she's very familiar with the writing of the grants. She's really going to be assisting recreation because they're very interested in writing grants for the recreation program. And so we're tasking her with, I think, a few other projects that we would like to see as well.
And just to advise, registration for this class is free. So what we're asking for is per diem and air travel cost is what it is, and it's approximately $1,300, $1,293.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
What is the pleasure of the board?
Consent.
Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is application for 2018 JAG distribution grant for Las Vegas Police Department and San Miguel County Sheriff's Office in order to purchase supplies.
And in order, for our reporting purposes, we have to, for this funding, which we do receive pretty much on a yearly basis, we have to partner with San Miguel Sheriff's Office on this, and it's a 50-50. So what we're looking at asking for this year is $10,866, and that's, again, it's a 50-50 split, and we'll be utilizing our share of the money for equipment that our officers use on their duty belts, and the Sheriff's Office will be asking for bulletproof vests with this funding. And ironically, this is one of our federal grants that we usually obtain, which is another reason why we need to send Beatrice to this training.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments? Councilor Howard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Chief, your officers, when they're driving around town and they run into an incident and they have to do a reporting of the incident, do they have to go all the way back to their office, or can they do it on their computer in the car?
At this point in time, they have to go back to the office to do their reporting. There is some stuff that we've been working on to try and get them laptops that have our reporting system, our Tyler system, accessible to them so they can do their reports out away from the office. That is something that we are working on.
So do we have Wi-Fi out there, so if they do get these laptops, are they going to be able to?
That's the part we're trying to work on right now. It's a little bit pricey.
Okay, so have you presented that proposal to us? Or?
I've been working with the city manager and with IT on it for some time now.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. 'Cause that would really help out the officers.
I agree.
In their efficiencies, because if they're in the office doing that report and all of a sudden they have an incident call, they had to stop, then go to the incident. So that's, and where else they can be in their cars doing the report and going right straight to the incident.
And actually, IT, Mr. Ray Ball, he's actually worked up some quotes for us for some laptop packages and whatnot, which was a little bit out of our range right now. So we're looking at some other alternatives so we can still meet that same goal. But yes, we are working on that.
We'll be bringing that to you once we define a plan that we think is feasible. But we're working on just a couple of different ideas that we have. So we will be bringing that to Mayor and Council.
Any other questions?
I got a question.
Councilor Relay.
Chief, how about body cameras? Do your officers carry any body cameras?
We actually we do carry body cameras. I know the ones that we have are starting to become outdated, so we're starting to look for ways that we can purchase some more so we can keep up with it. If we do not have body cameras, which some of them, like I said, we're getting low on numbers as far as having enough for everybody that are actually working operationally, they will carry a recording device. Yeah. Digital recording.
Is that every officer or?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
You had mentioned the funding will be split 50-50 with the sheriff's. Does
Yes.
the account of how many officers we have versus the sheriff's department, does that make a difference?
Yes, and that's a requirement of the grant itself. Okay. Yeah. We kind of, our stats are a little, quite a bit higher, but that is what the grant reads.
Any other questions? It is a pleasure of board.
Consent.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is resolution number 18-36, declaring drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and addiction a public health crisis in the city of Las Vegas. We have Mr. Chris Lopez.
So I know I reported to you guys on a number of occasions on the initiative that we're working on and fighting against addiction and the opioid crisis that the country is facing right now. Proud to say we've gotten to a point now where we're finalizing our plan for the Northeastern Regional Treatment Facility. With that being said, I know we've had a lot of discussion of our collaboration, and all the partners that that we have involved with this, which there is numerous. I don't remember if I presented you guys a list of all of our partners or not. I believe I did some time back. So with that being said, local government must be at the forefront of that initiative. And right now we're at the point where we feel that it's time, to show that support. Actually, yesterday I did present in Mora County Commission meeting and also in the San Miguel County Commission meeting. Mora County is reviewing their resolution, and actually San Miguel approved it yesterday. And so now I'm here, asking for the support from the City of Las Vegas and the governing body to support the resolution that we put together. If you like, I could read it.
I'd like to, you can read it into the record, but I'd like to see it in more detail to make certain that addresses it. But I'm sure you're very good.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Would you like me to read it?
Yes, go ahead, read it into the record.
Okay. A resolution declaring drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and addiction a public health crisis in the City of Las Vegas. Whereas drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and addiction are serious growing problems within the City of Las Vegas, and whereas the effects of drug and alcohol abuse are devastating to the addicted, their families, friends, and the community as a whole. And whereas deaths resulting from drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and addiction are at historically high levels never before seen in the City of Las Vegas. And whereas the economic effects of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and addiction on the entire City of Las Vegas community are devastating, including the burden on health, law enforcement, and detention resources. And whereas detoxification and treatment are crucial elements in the fight against drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and addiction. The City of Las Vegas lacks public detoxification and treatment facilities, and whereas the City of Las Vegas is engaged in joint efforts with the County of San Miguel, Alta Vista Regional Hospital, New Mexico Highlands University, El Centro Family Health, Mora Valley Community Health Services, Pecos Valley Medical Center, New Mexico Hope, and several other local agencies to open detoxification and treatment facilities within the community. And whereas the City of Las Vegas and San Miguel County have set aside funding and partnered with other local agencies to apply for additional funding through grants to facilitate more available access to behavioral health services, including those directed at drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and addiction. And whereas the City of Las Vegas has implemented a Narcan program in which all public safety agencies within the city carry and have been trained in the administration of Narcan to counter opiate overdoses. And whereas the problem of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and addiction is regional and demands cooperation and resources from all levels of government, as well as from the nonprofit and private sectors. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the City of Las Vegas that drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and addiction are a public health crisis in the City of Las Vegas. And now therefore be it further resolved by the governing body of the City of Las Vegas that the City of Las Vegas declares its commitment to intensify and expand its fight against drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and addiction. And now therefore be it further resolved by the governing body of the City of Las Vegas that the City of Las Vegas declares its commitment to a regional approach incorporating all levels of government as well as private and non-profit sectors in the fight against drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and addiction.
I have a question. Thank you very much. This is a very good resolution. Have all the requirements that you have stated in this resolution been met already?
Yes, ma'am.
They have been. Very good. That's great. Great. Good job. I don't have a problem with the resolution at all. It's a very good resolution. Questions, comments?
One other thing. Also, this resolution is a requirement of I'm also working on receiving a HIDA designation for the county. And what that is it's a high-intensity drug trafficking areas designation, and we're able to receive more resources, more federal assistance in the fight against drug abuse or the enforcement part of it, I guess. And so this is also a requirement of that. And again, I talking to some of our senators and our congressmen, I really feel that it's immensely important that we show that local government is leading the fight in this, in this battle. So, and that's why I'm here today.
Awesome. Questions, comments? Councilor Romero.
Thank you, Chief. I know you've been a very important part of spearheading, everything that you've done. And I guess this question would be I don't know what your future holds. As we know, we're going to get a new chief, and I would ask Madam Mayor and Madam Manager that I don't know if he's going to stick around with the PD or what your future is, but if he stays with the police department, he continue to be that figure, to continue this.
The chief is going to stay with us till like December, the end of December, January?
Yeah. I'm not too sure yet. Yeah.
Wait,
No pressure, but
pressure.
Yeah.
He's talked a little bit about possibly we've talked a little bit about the next 2 months, 2.5 months, but he's going to be continuing to work with us, work with the transition,
Yeah.
and then of course work on this
And
project.
that's what I was asking.
Yes.
Yeah, we had talked about the
Absolutely.
transitional
And we want to work with the county.
Yes, and again, wherever I end up, I'm going to stay engaged in this effort because I feel like it's something that's very much needed in not only in the country but in our state, and more so in our communities. The northeastern part of the state doesn't have anything like this. There's approximately 120 beds throughout the state. If we want any of our community members or citizens who need any kind of help to receive that, they have to go to Rio Arriba, Bernalillo, Las Cruces, those kind of areas, and that's if there's even a bed readily available for them. So in the plan, we have outlined that beds in this center will be specifically for members of our community, a number of those beds.
And the other question is, would it, I don't know, I guess it'd be up to you, but I think an important part is maybe the schools also. This resolution will be for funding, right? I mean, eventually, we all support, the entities, but have you considered like the schools also approving this?
Yes, and in a little bit earlier of the stages that when we were working on this, we have went and talked to the schools, and we are getting ready to go and reach out to more to the schools. I know I wanted to do another presentation, to talk to them about possibly using their some of their sites. We have identified a number of sites which we're looking at right now. We haven't really picked one yet. I mean, we have an idea on some of the ones we would like to use, but again, we have to concentrate on educating, our community and letting them know why it's so important and how it could really help us to get where we
would a resolution maybe that they also
Absolutely.
support, maybe that would be.
Yes, and that's exactly like what I'm doing with this resolution is, the County of Mora, we've been engaging with them, and now I went and did a presentation to them yesterday, and I presented them with the idea of adopting this similar resolution, because they have been working with us, in this initiative. So really, it appears that they're on board. So I guess I just have to wait to see if that's something that they are going to consider adopting. I'm going to do the same thing in the village of Pecos and also in Guadalupe County. So we're working that direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief.
Councilor Casey can't speak that much today, which is to my advantage. TV, but she did make some statements in the back, in the past, I should say, and I need to bring those statements up, which are really positive statements regarding the positive impacts to a neighborhood area when you actually, and you brought in some statistics and other data that and it's on the record somewhere. It is very important that we put it in a centralized location. I know that we had discussed Legion Park, and some individuals, I'm not going to mention who, said that there was concerns about it being there. I don't have a problem with it, and I'm right next door to it. So I'm fine with it, because I know the benefits of putting a treatment center in the area, in an affluent area, are actually very good for a community. So I needed to throw that in, and I didn't verbatim say everything you said because I can't recall it verbatim, but something to that effect.
Some of the members of the Health Council did a lot of research and found that studies show that people who participate in programs that are located in neighborhoods do much better and become more quickly integrated into the community and stop their addictions at a faster rate. So, and it was, I believe it was Pat Lehan who did the research on that, so she's, I'm sure, would like to share that. with you
Yes,
sometime.
we're definitely going to get in touch with Ms. Lehan, and also the collaboration, we've discussed putting together a presentation so we can start holding public meetings and start educating the community on the effects of bringing something like that here, so that way we can erase the stigma that is present. So
Thank you for the any other questions, comments?
one last thing, the Alta Vista Hospital is ready to kick off. They actually they took the lead on bringing a detoxification or on the detoxification treatment, and they're going to bring it to Alta Vista, and they're actually covering all the cost on that as well, which if it was something that we were to incorporate in the plan is probably the more costly part of it. And Mr. O'Rear, the CEO, him and his staff, they took it upon themselves to bring it, and they're getting ready to, he is saying that they should be ready right around November-ish to kick it off. And the problem, where we need to meet them on this is they have to be able to have somewhere, inpatient center to send these individuals after they detox. But I was just proud to say that Mr. O'Rear and his staff have been able to put that together, and it looks like it's ready to kick off in November. It's from what I last heard.
Thank you very much. What is the pleasure of the board? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief, you have done an outstanding job
Thank you.
in your position, and I'm going to miss you.
Don't be asking him about those dates. Yeah, he's not ready. We want to keep him as long as possible, I guess. The next item is resolution number 18-38, the 2020-2024 Infrastructure Capital Improvement Plan for the City of Las Vegas Senior Center. And this is separate from our regular ICIP plan. This is more geared to the senior centers. Madam Mayor, members of the council.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Manager. Thank you all. So this ICIP plan is separate from what is submitted for the rest of the city. Senior centers are funded primarily through aging and long-term services, and there is an actual separation from the state that has incorporated the senior programs throughout the state. I think there are about 64 senior centers throughout the state, so they've kind of carved that whole section out, and so I'll be reporting on senior centers. And so for the Las Vegas Senior Center, there are 8 projects that I have listed here. They are ranked from 2020 to 2023. The first project I have is the electrical upgrade project. This is a new project. It is the Southside Senior Center parking lot improvement. That was project listed as rank number 1 last year. I did submit through the capital outlay program, or through the capital outlay request, the request to fund this last fiscal year, or in January, through the legislature. And actually through the capital outlay, actually it was in April, excuse me. And so I was told that it should still be here, it should still be ranked as the top ranking, but our need right now is electrical upgrades for the senior center. We have some major issues in our in the kitchen for the Las Vegas site. We do not have room for expansion. Our breaker box is at capacity. We have situations where we have a steam table that's blocking an entry. There's some trip hazard situations and exit issues that are going on right now. And so it's definitely a huge priority to have this as priority number 1. And so that is new. The Southside Senior Center parking lot, We had an estimate given to us for the capital outlay. Initially, last year, I had it estimated at about 500,000 for this project. After the engineer gave us an estimate on it, they came back at 1.5 million, which was pretty interesting. There is a lot that's this will entail, and that is actually leveling the parking lot, lighting, paving, doing a roundabout, turning the carport for better safety, sidewalks, etc. So it's a huge project. So that is still considered a huge priority, but it is listed as number 2 for 2020. For 2020, also our HVAC units, this was also went through the engineer, and I also submitted it as part of our capital outlay request in April, which should be presented now in January for the legislature. This project, we have issues with our HVAC units. There's one that it just throws out hot air. Our pool room, our men complain almost daily about our HVAC that doesn't work. I've had maintenance look at it, and so it needs repairing. We have a very ancient system. It goes back since the building was built in 1985, I believe, and so it just needs to get replaced at this point. There are 4 units, and so for whatever reason, that was the estimate that was given from the engineer. We'll have to see, what that'll entail. But in 2020, option or rank number 4, Las Vegas Senior Center improvements, 700,000. I came up with this number. It is for improvements that have to be done to the bathrooms, for one, also for the entryway. About a year ago, the city of Las Vegas contributed about $6,000 to make our entryway ADA compliant. It was brought up that, a senior center and our doors still were not even ADA compliant. So the city did contribute $6,000 to get that repaired. We have one door on one side that opens, the other side doesn't, but they're not fire rated doors. There's a lot of leakage that comes in through those doors. It's just a very old entryway, and so that whole area needs to get renovated. Our restrooms also, with the renovation that happened a couple years ago, they were not renovated, and so we have a lot of smells that are coming in. We do not have ventilation out of those restrooms, which I think is pretty interesting that was never upgraded. And then the last thing is the pool room. We have a group of about 30 men that play pool every day, and they're squished in that little room. So my other thought with that 700 is to expand that pool room, add another pool table, and so that way there'd be more room for the pool men to play. And so that's the intent of the 2020. And then 2020, also my 5th rank here is my kitchen equipment. It's not, we were funded, I put in through the legislature a request of $59,000 in January. That was an emergency request to spend 59, or actually it was for 72, we got funded 59,000. I'm requesting for 39,000 through this ICIP, through the ranking. The 39 is to purchase the remainder or request the remainder of the equipment that is on my list, which entails a mixer, the ovens, the warmer, that kind of thing. So that's how those rank. 2021 furniture and equipment package. We need to upgrade all our tables and chairs. We have situations where some of, we manage a senior center, and unfortunately, they're not leather seats. And so we're constantly washing the seats. We also, they're breaking, even though there's so many of them, but there's, we need to replace them. They're old. The tables, I think, down to 8 round tables. And so 75,000 is on my 2021 request, option or rank number 1. Senior entertainment is rank number 2 for 2021. I've got 30,000 there. That's more for, we need computers, we need, for the seniors also to put a computer lab, a nice computer lab. Right now we have 2 computers that are Wi-Fi accessible. One that is not, it's too old, does not have Wi-Fi capability. The other 2 are also old, but they were able to, but they're very slow. They've got old programs that manage them. And so it's a upgrade to our network for the for IT and so forth. So that's what that is. And then in 2023 for Las Vegas, I'm looking at 300,000 in 2024, for new vehicles. We've just last year received 9 new vehicles, and so it's not a huge priority. And so it is on the ICIP, but it is more a 5-year plan. For Petco Senior Center, there are some changes that I've made to this as well, not many. I've added the HVAC unit system as priority number 1 for 2020. They're also having issues. I've been in communication with the village of Pecos to replace these, to see what the issues are and to also include it in our ICIP. This would be something that the city would not manage. The village would manage it since they are part of, it is part of the building, but it is on our ICIP because it is the senior center. Kitchen equipment as well, we need some money there. This was requested in our capital outlay request, the 47,000 in April that I submitted it, but it still has to be a high rank, and since it hasn't been funded at this time. There's some parking lot renovations and landscaping that we want to also upgrade. There's been a lot of drainage issues in Pecos as well. There's leakage into that building as well. And so that is definitely a priority. And then new vehicles. I've got this kind of split up into a 2020 and a 2024. The reason for this is when I went to the Aging and Long-Term conference that was a couple weeks ago, they've come up with a new vehicle, and it's a van that transports meals. It's like a hot shot van. And so for rural areas, it's a very much needed asset. To actually go out en route to deliver meals, but pick up seniors, bring them to the center, and actually feed them as well. So it's, I think it would be a nice asset to have both in Pecos and San Miguel centers. I don't think they're needed here in Las Vegas. Washer and dryer, I do have for 2021 here. 2022, we've got office equipment, and then 2022, option number 2, a bingo machine. It's impressive how the ladies love to play bingo. So again, some of these items will be going through the legislature for requesting and funding. A bingo machine is not something that the legislature would fund, but it's still on the ICIP plan because it's still a priority for the seniors. We would have to find a different source of revenue for that. For the San Miguel Senior Center, with the fact that the San Miguel Senior Center opened in May, we obviously now have needs. And so for me, new vehicles is definitely a priority. Kitchen equipment is definitely a priority. Office equipment, computer, printer, copier, etc. Those are much needed. The HVAC system, I moved to 2021. The parking lot renovation, I've moved that to 2022. At this point, there'll be more communication. It's not a huge priority right now. And then again, the bingo machine. So that is the ICIP request that I have for the senior center.
Thank you very much, Ms. Salazar. Question?
I got a question.
Councilor Olivares.
Ms. Salazar, how about landscaping on the senior area? If we're gonna do the parking lot and all that, is there any plans on landscaping that area?
In the Las Vegas site you're referring to?
Yes, ma'am.
Sir? Yes, sir. That is the plan, is after everything is leveled and everything is done. Currently, we do not have, like for instance, for evacuation for fire,
Right.
We have to take all the seniors out to the parking lot because we don't have anywhere to, an actual point for them to go to. We don't have any tables. We don't have anything, so they actually gather in the middle of the parking lot. So yes, that is part of the 1.5 million is to hopefully do landscaping, plant some trees, the lighting, beautification. Yes, sir.
How about sidewalks, because almost everybody parks on the parking lot and they gotta walk through, right in the middle of the parking lot, because we got a lot of old residents there that
Yes,
barely
sir.
can walk and, so.
Yeah, some with walkers, some
Right.
with wheelchairs.
Yeah,
And yes,
that's a very nice plan, if everything goes through.
so the plan is to do like a roundabout
Yes,
and
ma'am.
actually have something in the middle to actually have a sidewalk, have maybe lawn, trees, tables,
Right.
that kind of thing. So,
Thank you.
yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, comments? Councilor Howell?
Just a question. Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Salazar, how much did you budget for the bingo machine?
70,000.
It's interesting. A bingo machine that is of good quality, has a flash board, has everything that we need is about $10,000.
10,000.
Yes, sir. If you can see, in Pecos, I am asking for the 10,000. In San Miguel, I've actually only asked for 5. The reason being is that 5 will also get you a good machine, but it may not have all the, bells and whistles.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? What is the pleasure of the board?
Consent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Wanda. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. We don't believe we have need for executive session.
Okay, thank you very much. Need a motion to adjourn?
Madam Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
Do you have a
Second?
Uh-huh.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Uribe Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Uribe Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.